Let me ask you a question. Where do you think the most important marketing battles are actually won? Is it on a TV commercial? Or maybe in a supermarket aisle? Well, according to the legendary book we're breaking down today, Positioning by Ries and Jack Trout, the answer is none of the above. You see, the real war isn't for shelf space. It's for a tiny, tiny piece of real estate inside your mind.
And to really get why that mental battlefield is so important, just look at this number. We are talking about over 3,000 commercial messages aimed directly at you every single day. That isn't just background noise. We are living in a completely overcommunicated society. It is a constant, nonstop barrage.
So, that leads to the million-dollar question, right? In a world where literally everyone is shouting to be heard, how on earth does any message actually get through? How do you make an idea stick when it's competing with thousands and thousands of others for attention? And this is the book's core idea. We're not just dealing with a little bit of marketing clutter. We're talking about total, complete information overload. The real fight isn't out there in the marketplace. It's for that tiny, precious sliver of space in your head. You know, to survive this constant assault of information, our minds have developed a pretty incredible defense system. The best way to picture it is like a bouncer at the world's most exclusive nightclub. It stands guard at the entrance to your attention, and it just rejects almost every message trying to get in. It's not personal, it's a survival mechanism.
Okay, so if your mind is this heavily guarded fortress, how does any message ever get past the velvet rope? Well, it turns out our brains use a really simple but kind of ruthless system to organize the very few messages that do make it inside, and it's called the product ladder.
So for basically every category you can think of, cars, soda, search engines, your mind creates this little mental ranking. But here's the kicker, the part that changes everything. These ladders are tiny. Most of them only have room for 2, maybe 3 brands at the top. That's it.
Let's do a quick experiment. I want you to think of facial tissue. What's the very first brand that pops into your head? For almost everybody, it's Kleenex, right? They own that top rung. Okay, now who's number 2? Maybe Puffs comes to mind. But now, who's number 3? Chances are you're drawing a complete blank.
And that, right there, is the brutal reality of positioning. It's not nearly enough to just be in the market. If your brand isn't sitting on one of those top couple of rungs in your customer's mind, then for all intents and purposes, you're invisible. You just don't exist.
So, if the name of the game is to claim a spot on that ladder, how is it actually done? Well, the good news is the book lays out a very clear playbook for winning this battle for the mind. So let's break down 3 of the most powerful strategies you can use. All right, winning move number 1, and it's the most powerful of all. Be first. This is the law of leadership, and it says it's way better to be first in the mind than it is to have a better product. Why? Because the first brand to claim a position becomes the generic, the standard that everything else is judged against. I mean, we don't search for things online, we Google them. We don't make a photocopy, we Xerox it. Being first is the ultimate advantage.
But what if someone else already got there first? What do you do then? Well, that brings us to the second move. Create a new category. The logic here is simple but brilliant. If you can't be the first one on an existing product ladder, then just create a new ladder where you can be first. Think about it. Amelia Earhart wasn't the first person to fly across the Atlantic, but she's famous as the first woman to do it. Miller Lite wasn't the first beer, not by a long shot, but it created and then completely owned the brand new category of light beer.
The third move is what you do when a leader is already totally dug in on that top rung. Instead of trying to attack them head-on, you position yourself in relation to them. The all-time classic example is Avis. They couldn't say they were number 1 in rental cars. Everybody knew Hertz was number 1. So what did they do? They embraced being number 2 with this unforgettable promise. We're number 2, we try harder. It was honest, it was memorable, and it cleverly used the leader's own strength to their advantage.
This whole strategy of defining yourself against the leader is just so powerful. 7-Up knew it had zero chance of winning a head-to-head fight against giants like Coke and Pepsi, so they created a new position defined entirely by what it wasn't. By branding themselves as the Un-Cola, they instantly became the go-to choice for anyone who wanted a soda, but not a cola. It was an absolute masterstroke. Now let's say you've done it. You have a strong position, but the battle isn't over, not at all. In fact, this is when you're most vulnerable to one of the biggest, most common mistakes in marketing, a trap that even the biggest, smartest companies fall into.
This quote from Al Ries just sums it up perfectly.
The temptation for a successful brand to try to be more things to more people is huge. But when you try to stretch that powerful, focused position you've built, you almost always dilute what made you strong in the first place.
And this right here is the line extension trap in action. In our minds, Xerox is copiers. That's a super strong position. IBM is computers, another incredibly strong position. But what happened when IBM tried to sell copiers? It failed. And when Xerox tried to sell computers, it also failed. The reason is simple. Your mind just can't hold two different contradictory ideas about the same brand. It just creates confusion and it shatters that brand's core identity.
So, as we start to wrap this up, let's bring it all together. What is the single most important lesson here? And more importantly, how can you actually put it into practice? At the end of the day, everything we've talked about really boils down to this one single goal: owning one simple, powerful idea in your customer's mind. Think about the greats. Volvo owns safety. FedEx owns overnight. So the question you have to ask is, what's the one idea that you own?
And to help you nail down that one idea, here's a simple but really powerful tool you can use: a positioning statement template. This forces you to get crystal clear on exactly who your audience is, what category you're in, what makes you different, and maybe most importantly, why people should believe you. Think of it like the blueprint for building your position in the mind.
And that brings us to the final and most important question. You know, whether you're building a company, a personal brand, or even just your own career reputation, these principles are totally universal. So in this constant, noisy battle for attention, what is the one single word that you want to own?